traders. I am Emily Bonney, the CEO of the Investment Banking Institute and your host here at NewsWare's Trade Talk. Joining me is trading anchor Bill Olson, who brings more than 30 years of institutional trading experience to our program. At Trade Talk, we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Today is Wednesday, May 1st. We begin a new month of trading today as we await the latest decision on monetary policy from the Fed. Yesterday, markets during regular trading, all three major indices closed in the red. The Dow tumbled 570 points, or nearly 1.5%. The S&P 500 gave back 80 points, or more than 1.5%. The Nasdaq slipped more than 2%. Bill, let's get into Wednesday's action with what is happening in the markets this morning.
Hi, good morning, Emily. I'm watching the S&Ps. The S&Ps are trading lower. They're ticking lower. They're down 0.34%, a little more than 0.3%. Yeah, we're probably going to have a negative opening. It's a little more than I would think, but a lot of it is related to earnings. Today the big story is the economic calendar. The economic calendar is very active this morning, with the key data point, of course, being the Fed announcement on monetary policy at 2 p.m., followed by Jerome Powell's press conference. Corporate news, CVS lowered their full-year guidance. Johnson & Johnson looking to, spin off litigation risk for their talcum powder lawsuits into a new fund. There was a host of earnings last night. And today after the bell, there's a number of good ones. I mean, we got Qualcomm, DoorDash, Allstate, eBay, and Zillow all scheduled to report. Look at overseas. It's very quiet overseas because it's Labor Day for the most part. It's May 1st. You're looking at the DAX. The DAX is closed. You're looking at the Paris. Paris is closed. The FTSE is open. It's now it's flat to lower. It's down 0.02%, like 2 points. It was higher. It just recently turned lower. You're looking last night in Asia. Same deal. I mean, you're looking at, the Hang Seng was closed. The Shanghai in China was closed. Why? Labor Day. The Nikkei was opened. The Nikkei fell 131 points, or 0.34%. The big issue in Tokyo was data showing manufacturing activity contracted for the 11th straight month in April. But it did signal that it's near stabilization. So that's the positive you take out of it. But oil prices are what we're watching this morning. You're looking at WTI, it's down 1.89% to $80.38 a barrel. We're looking at Brent at $84.90 a barrel. That's down 1.66%. Listen, there's a number of factors that are going into, the drop of oil prices. I mean, last night we had the API data come out. These are the estimates. Their estimates indicated that oil stockpiles rose 4.9 million barrels last week. A rise in stockpiles is very bearish for oil prices. And today you get the official data from the EIA on the oil stockpiles report. And, and that combined with the prospect of the Fed saying that, that interest rates could be higher for longer, that's going to lead to a higher dollar, and a higher dollar is definitely negative for oil prices. So we're seeing real weakness there. Down almost 2%, and I wouldn't be surprised if we hit more than 2% lower on oil this morning. But that's what I have for you in terms of a morning market update report, Emily.
Bill, what's so useful about your morning market updates is that you really take a look at everything going on in the markets on any given trading day. We're all waiting the Fed's latest decision, but you're still looking at other details on the day. And throughout the show, we're going to dive into some of those, including earnings action, other economic events, and the day's other market moving headlines. We're going to start with earnings action. Plenty going on there. Bill, give us a rundown of what we should be watching when it comes to earnings.
All right, let's talk about what happened last night. Amazon, ticker AMZN, they beat by 16 cents, and they did it on higher revenue. It was actually a good report. The stock's up 1.49% this morning. It did trade a little lower initially, but it bounced right back, and now it's up 1.5% this morning. Then we're talking AMD, Apple, Michael David. They beat by a penny, and they did that on higher revenue. You look at AMD this morning, stock's down 6.5%. Not a bad report. They give strange guidance. They say plus or minus X amount percent. So it's not a real good number for analysts to work off of. and without a real good number to work off of, they just hit the stock. Stock's down 6.46% this morning. Then there's Starbucks, SBUX, Samboy, Uncle X-Ray. This was the worst report of the afternoon. I mean, Starbucks missed by 11 cents on lower revenue. You look at the stock; it's down 12.65% this morning. They blamed it on China. They blamed it on weak sales here in the U.S. I mean, listen, it's difficult. They've got a lot to, charging $5 for a cup of coffee is a difficult business to be in. Then there's Pfizer, ticker PFE, that released this morning. Ticker PFE beat by 30 cents, and they did it on higher revenue. Look at, here's the fires. They're up. Pfizer, it's up 1.17% this morning. And CVS Health, Charlie Victor Sam, they missed by 38 cents. They did it on lower revenue. That stock is down 11.46% this morning. Upcoming, we have Qualcomm, ticker QCOM. Quinton, Charlie, Oscar, Mary. Their EPS is $2.30. Expected move here is 7.87% when they release. Then there's DoorDash, ticker DASH, David Apple, Sam Henry. EPS is for a loss of 7 cents. Expected move is 10.81%. MetLife's also reporting, their EPS is $1.83. Expected move here is 4.38%. Let's see, a lot of insurance companies reporting after the bell this morning, Emily.
Bill, we'll be keeping an eye on that. And we're also keeping track of the day's economic events. The big headline here, as we've mentioned, is the latest announcement on monetary policy from the Fed, along with Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell's comments following that announcement, where, Bill, you always point this spotlight on because, you really can sift through there to see not only what's happening, but maybe what they're going to be doing, what the path forward looks like. But we also have a host of economic reports. So, Bill, give us a look at everything we should be watching when it comes to the day's economic events.
Okay, yeah, 8:15 a.m. we get the ADP employment report. At 10 a.m. we get the ISM manufacturing index. We also have construction spending and the JOLTS index at 10 a.m. Then at 10:30 you get the official numbers from the EIA oil stockpiles report, Energy Information Administration. Then at 2 p.m. we have the monetary policy announcement. This is kind of more Fed speak, but at 2:30 we do have Fed Chairman's Jerome Powell's press conference that is going to start. Now, in terms of what's going to happen with the FOMC meeting, I mean, listen, they're going to hold the interest rates steady between 5.25 and 5.5. There's a 50% chance of a rate cut in September. That's still kind of on the table. But in the March meeting, Powell conceded that inflation had been stickier than anticipated, referring to January and February. But March came in hot as well. He said that in March, he said that the latest data hadn't really changed his overall story, which is that inflation is moving down gradually on a sometimes bumpy road towards 2%. Well, with the elevated inflation rate lately, he may have to change that, and that's what the market is worried on. Then you look at the recent Fed comments, and I wrote about this in my piece this morning, one of my pieces that I put out daily. Fed chairman came out recently and he said the policy is positioned to handle the risks that they're going to face. He said that on April 16th, if inflation continues to run somewhat stronger, the Fed will simply keep rates at their current levels for longer. This was, echoed by a lot of the other, Fed commentary, Fed governors and Fed bank board presidents, where, policy is going to be on hold because of, the progress of stalled inflation, stalled events and progress in inflation. Except for Minneapolis Fed Bank President Neil Kashkari, he said in an interview that, the Fed may have to hold rates steady all year long. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But it's going to be an interesting report when it comes out today, Emily.
Bill, keeping an eye on all of that. You're going to be seeing this information as it comes out because you have NewsWare, you have your alerts set up for those economic events and the Fed speak. You also are watching earnings action using your NewsWare, and you're watching other types of information, including things like merger news, guidance news, buyback news. You're grouping stocks together like your FANG stocks, your Dow 30 stocks, sifting through different sectors and segments, trying to see trends on the trading day. So, Bill, what else do you see is possibly moving the markets today?
Doing a quick data check, Emily. I'm in my Dow stocks. I'm showing 19 stocks in the Dow are lower, 7 are higher. The rest are unchanged. One that is higher, obviously, is Johnson and Johnson after that news report that hit this morning. You're looking at your FANG stocks. So, there's growth in this Amazon and Google are trading higher. Good to see. The rest are lower. We're looking at Apple. Apple is trading off about 0.3%. They're coming out with earnings Thursday afternoons. Something to keep an eye on. Amazon, multiple price targets increases this morning. That's helping the stock gain up 1.5% this morning. Meta Platforms, European Commission opens formal proceedings against Meta under its Digital Services Act. Tesla, they're expected, that its full self-driving system in China, it's going to really help propel the companies forward in a global race to autonomous driving vehicles. Listen, it's not like they don't have competition. That BYD has it, Hyundai has it. The number of companies are doing that, but in China's population is very dense, packed urban landscape. We'll have to see how that comes out, but that's some interesting story on Tesla this morning. We're talking Dow Jones 30 stocks. We're talking Goldman, ticker GS. Grace Sam Goldman's is in talks to transfer its GM credit card program to Barclays. United Healthcare, ticker UNH. Shares are trading lower this morning. Listen, United Healthcare, their CEO is going to be appearing before Congress this morning to discuss the recent hacking incident. It's going to be, listen, they didn't do anything wrong. They got hacked. It happens, but the stock really is weak right now, and it really looking at like an opportunity. Johnson and Johnson, ticker JNJ. Johnson and Johnson is seeking backing for an 11 billion baby powder cancer settlement. Looks like that's going to happen. Johnson and Johnson shares are trading higher by 2.5% this morning. Good to see. Then we're talking merger news. PCG, Paul Charlie Grace. This is PG&E. They're nearing a deal with KKR for a stake in the power business spinoff. DPSI, David Paul Sam India, Decision Point Systems agreed to be acquired by a private investment from Graham Partners in a $78.5 million deal. Guidance, Supermarket Micro, ticker SMCI, Sam Michael Charlie India, their Q4 EPS guidance, $7.62 versus consensus of $7.14. ACQ4 revenue coming in 5.1 billion to 5.5 billion. Street estimate was 4.89 billion. Interesting. It looks like an uptick. Clorox, ticker CLX, full year 2024 adjusted EPS view. They raised it. It's now at $5.80 to $5.95. Street estimate was $5.85. That's nice for ticker CLX. AMD, Apple, Michael David. AMD sees Q2 revenue 5.7 billion plus or minus 300 million. Street estimate is 5.7 billion. So it's right in the middle. That's the way they work their guidance. In terms of buyback news, Voya Financial, ticker VOYA, Victor Oscar Yellow Apple, their board approved a 500 million share additional share buyback program. And that's all I have for you about news hitting the tape this morning, Emily.
This is the type of data that NewsWare delivers daily. It's factual, it's market moving, and our alerting functions bring it to your attention as it happens. Go to www.newsware.com now and sign up for the trial and see for yourself the benefits that professional Newswire delivers. We've now made it to that time of the show for the trade talk pick of the day. Bill, a tricky day to be making a pick ahead of that latest announcement from the Fed, but you're going to do it first anyway. What's your pick of the day?
I'm going with CyberArk, ticker CYBR, Charlie Yellow, Boy Richard. They're releasing earnings. CyberArk is scheduled to release earnings tomorrow morning. So, you just kind of look at the numbers. I mean, the EPS is 27 cents. Expected move is 10.31%. You look at a call volume of 4,677 calls yesterday versus 421 puts. That's right, 4,677 versus 421. Very positive. Then you look at the open interest, 20,468 calls versus 9,368 puts. Wow, I like those ratios. You look at the brokers, and the brokers are positive. They're raising price targets on CyberArk. In terms of an entry point, listen, I'm gonna say 238-ish. I really don't know. It's really hard to judge because you know what? market's going to be a little weak. They're going to open up weak this morning. So you gotta factor that in. And the stock that opens up weak typically falls weaker throughout the day. Then you get the Fed announcement. If Jerome Powell's really hawkish, that's good. That entry price could drop to 236, 237. The bid offer spread is really wide this morning, but I do think we're going to see some positive activity, specifically on that earnings report. So later in the day, tomorrow morning, CyberArk share should gain, ticker CYBR. So that's my pick of the day. CyberArk, Charlie Yellow, Boy Richard, CYBR, CyberArk, Emily.
CyberArk it is today. We will follow that along with you. And coming up, we're going to do recap on yesterday's pick of the day. So stick with us. But ahead of that, let's take a look at the current breaking headlines that have hit the tape in our hot off the press segment. Bill, take it away.
Oh, MasterCard shares slides on Q1 revenue miss. Not good. Kraft Heinz, TGA Fridays expand frozen appetizers deal. Oh, that's good. TGA Fridays appetizers being sold by Kraft Heinz. I'd like to see that. Although I don't buy them, but I do think it's good for both firms. Wingstocks moving up on a Q1 beat, updated guidance. Estee Lauder, Estee Lauder's top quarterly estimates on stronger Asian travel retail sales. I thought they were weak. CVS made a big bet on Medicare. Looks a little risky is one of the stories out there today. Ticker FUBO, Frank Uncle Boy Oscar, Warner Brothers Network is no longer available on Fubo TV. They were trying to negotiate a deal, but they couldn't get a deal worked out with Warner Brothers, so it's removed as of today. Starbucks SUBX blamed negative environment in China and declining traffic at its stores as the reason for the shortfall. United Airlines company on Wednesday extended the cancellation of its daily flight from Newark to Israel to May 9th. Viking Holdings, they priced their IPO at $24. It's scheduled to go public today. It's scheduled to start trading. Remember, they cater to a different group. They want no kids. This is just for luxury adult cruising. But Viking Holdings, IPO price between $21 and $25 a share. Federal Appeals Court on Tuesday overturned a judgment requiring IBM to pay rival BMC software $1.6 billion after a judge found IBM improperly replaced BMC's mainframe software at an AT&T with its own. That's all I'm seeing this morning.
Okay, Bill, before we dive into trading on this Wednesday and this first day of May, let's do a check-in on yesterday's pick of the day, which was Stryker Corp. They did release earnings after the bell yesterday, but before I get there, I saw a number of price target raises on the stock this morning by the likes of Wells Fargo, Baird, UBS, amongst others. They did report Q1 adjusted EPS of $2.50. The consensus here had been $2.35. They reported Q1 revenue of $5.2 billion. The consensus there had been $5.1 billion. Bill, now, yesterday you did say you would take that 1% if you got it during the day. Weren't sure if that was going to happen. Otherwise, you would hold to see if there would be a chance for a gain there. How did your call work out?
It's still a work in progress. I mean, it could have worked out. I mean, listen, Stryker opened up at 337.65, which was a little high. I mean, I was like, I don't want to pay up that way. But it fell down to 336.50 during the day. And, and then came the earnings announcement and everybody's attention was on, Amazon and AMD. So it was a snooze fest. But I did see a print hit at 342. So in that case, yeah, I can, it did kind of work out. But I that was just one trade. And, when I was off the desk, when that trade hit, which is unusual for me, but I still think this is going to, work out this morning because listen, they beat on earnings. They beat by 15 cents and they did it on higher revenue. Their guidance was not bad. And then you look at the brokers, they're all raising price targets this morning. That's all indications that stock's moving higher. It's a really wide spread and it's not like, a heavily traded stock, but I still think there's gains to be had in SYK today. So I don't want to call this, one done yet, but SYK is kind of a winner already because of what the print last night, but I want to see more activity this morning, Emily.
Bill, I'm going to count that as a win because there was a chance there, but we can loop back around on that. And with that, if you include even your one loss and two flat trades out of 22 trades in April, You would be looking at an 87% win rate for April. But if you take out those flat trays, you're looking at a 95% win rate. And I think that is pretty good, but we will keep an eye on Stryker Corp. And we will also check in with you tomorrow about today's CyberArk pick of the day. Bill, thank you as always for your expert insight. Join us back here tomorrow and each weekday morning at NewsWare's Trade Talk when we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Again, I'm your host, Emily Bonnie, here with trading anchor Bill Olson. Traders, you know what to do. Let's go out there and make some green.